What was the week I was there? That was April.
Yeah, it's just the second week in April. So this is Becton's fishing report from Cuba.
Oh, Cuba. Wow.
Wow.
So very eye-opening, you know, having a traditional fly background Florida fishery, you know, where you have to, I don't want to say it's a difficult fishery, but it's challenging. Cuba, you need to bring as much skill to the table as you can. I mean, we all try to improve our skill levels, but I guess, Brett, to sum up the simplicity of it is just get the damn fly in front of the fish. And it's not a matter of, I guess for me, the relaxation part of it, of actually being able to enjoy the peacefulness of knowing that all I have to do is get this fly in front of this fish.
Was there ever times...
He's going to eat it. He's going to smash it.
Were there ever times where you felt like, man, I wonder if I get it there, like, if it's going to eat it?
No. I mean, I could put, you know, some ruder descriptors to that, but I mean, let's keep it family friendly here. But I think for guys that have spent time in saltwater and are trying to learn the game and the challenge of it, I mean, we all appreciate the challenge of it, but I think when you arrive at a destination like that and you see how the fish behave, and they're in a manner that it's so easy to get tight to fish there. You know, yes, are you going to break some off and do some things that you shouldn't have done? Of course. But I guess the reassurance is that, okay, here's a prime example. So let's say I made a good shot to a string of fish, and the lead fish rushes it and eats it, and I didn't get tight. So the fly falls out. Just keep stripping. That fish is either going to turn back around and smash the fly, or the fish that are behind the lead fish are going to race to eat it, because they saw that the fish behind the lead saw that fish eat. So they know there's food around.
So they get excited.
Oh, they get worked up. It's crazy.
And what was the fishing report like for your group on that week?
So that week, the report was, I mean, there were days where certainly teams did better than other boats. You know, they were in, for whatever reason, the zone, the spot that their guide chose to take them to that day. The fish pushed through, you know, better than some of the other areas that some of the other guides were fishing.
And when you had a good push of fish for a team, what would be their experience?
I would say if you're a mid-level angler and you're honest with your abilities, you're gonna get tight to probably at least 5, I'd say. You know, the bite count is dependent upon, you know, how many times you get it in front of the fish. But yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to land on an average day 5 to 8 fish, you know, a day, and on exceptional days, you're gonna be sore. There's only so many. There's only so. I mean, I do this.
You've tarpon guide for how many decades? And you said
almost 3.
And you were sore.
Yeah, I was sore. And I mean, you know, I don't get to fish as much as I'd like to. Obviously, I spend more time on the platform than I do on the bow. But you know, for me as a guide, it was nice. It helped me kind of understand too, because I don't get to spend as much time on the bow as you know. I would quickly turn around and tell my guide I was sorry because I screwed, you know, you screw some things up. I mean, you do. And I just wanted them to know, hey, I'm trying as best as I can, because when you're there, in my mind, my mentality was, I want to see what I can personally do on unpressured fish. How many of these things can I get in my hands a day? And we did have some challenging wind in the mornings, and then it would slick out, and okay, here comes a string of 20. How many bites am I going to get out of 3 casts? And that's the nicest thing about it, is you don't have that anxiety of blowing something and not getting a shot at redemption, if that makes sense.
And your skill level doesn't have to be what it needs to be, say, in your fishery in Boca Grande or in the Keys.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You don't have to have spent years,
right,
at least a week or two a year for
right.
the last 3, 4, or 5 years.
That's true.
To finally feel like, okay, I'm starting to get it, and maybe I can take advantage of the few opportunities I'm going to get.
Yes, I think that's a fair assumption, or a fair assessment of things. It's nobody's born a tarpon angler. It's an annealing process that people have to go through to get really proficient at it. And this is an opportunity for guys that are really interested and serious about increasing that learning curve, let's say, at a much more accelerated rate. I thought the 3 guides I fished with while I was there were fantastic. They were friendly, and they worked to make things happen.
But you still, even with cooperative fish, you still as an angler have to do your part.
Oh, you have to do your part. Yeah, it's not so don't don't parachute in and think that you still need to be able to turn a large fly, larger flies than what we use in Florida and places to the south here. These fish want to fly, and so I think you do need to be able to turn over a fly. 50 feet would be perfect. Obviously, further than that, but I think people need to understand. Yes, they need to have reasonable casting skills before they embark on a trip like this.
If they want to take advantage.
If they want to take advantage of the opportunities that are there, yes. Don't. And that's not to discourage anyone that wants to try it. Just bear in mind that if you come back to the skiff or to the ship at the end of your fishing day, and you're relaxing amongst your friends, and you go, man, I had it was tough today. I didn't catch anything. Well, how many bites did you have? Well, I had 15 bites. Well, what happened? I saw a lot of fish, but I just couldn't get it. You just need to be honest with yourself and your skills. And I think that's something that, needs to be communicated. And just be honest with your skill levels. I would highly recommend anybody that's going to go, do this, go get a tune-up by, a casting instructor in your area and get to where you can comfortably double haul.
40 to 60 feet.
40 to 60 feet. If you can do that, you're going to hook a lot of fish.
You're going to get 85% of the shots.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the guides know, it's like they know where these fish are going to swing to, but they can't catch them for you.
Yeah.
They can't do it for you. They will if you ask them to. They'll gladly do it. But it's you don't want to let them down for their efforts that they're putting forth either. And you don't want to let yourself down. So just be honest with your skill levels and show up ready to pull on them, because that's where you get that accelerated learning curve on the proper way to pull on the fish. And then, you know, the hosted trips, you have somebody with you that, you know, on one or two of the days, you know, in the rotation, you'll get to fish your co-angler with somebody who can teach you the proper way to pull on these fish. Because,
or to put it in front of them.
Or to put it in front of them, yeah. And, you know, different techniques. I mean, as far as the stripping goes, you don't have to be, you know, as precise with missing a beat on stripping cadence. Most of the time, it was my experience, our guides wanted us just moving the fly slowly. Just slowly keep it moving. And it's really, I don't want to say frightening. That's not the right word. But, I mean, the fish race forward to smash it. There's no sipping. There's no cracking of the mouth. It's violent. And that's what, you know, as tarpon anglers, that's kind of the bites we really like to see the most.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just smashing it.
What's your experience? So you're on a liveaboard. What would you tell people about your experience on being on a liveaboard?
So the staff was extremely accommodating. I mean, they wanted to know on a daily basis, you know, if you were comfortable, if there was anything that they could do to make you more comfortable. I would recommend you travel light. You don't need to bring, you know, a change of clothes every single day you're there. They will do laundry for you. Everything will be nicely folded on your bed. Travel light. Be agile, and the food was fantastic. I didn't. There was no wanting out of me, you know, or any of my co-anglers on my recent trip there. We had a wonderful time. It was extremely relaxing, and you know, I looked forward to the boat ride, to the skiff ride back to the mothership, just for the camaraderie of sharing each other's stories for the day and hanging out and enjoying some good food with my friends and watching the sunset and then wearily going off to bed because you will be tired.
And what about the traveling to and from Cuba? Some people sometimes are hesitant, think that there's issues or there might be issues at customs or, you know, with the Cuban officials. What's been your experience and what?
It's piece of cake. It's just like going to any other place where, you know, a passport and a visa is required. It's very, very, very simple. In and out. I mean, in and out. I was sad to leave, but at the same time, I was happy to be home again too, because, you know, I'm kind of a softie. I like my home life too. But anybody who's on the fence that thinks, you know, that this is something you're not supposed to do, that's an untruth. I say go do it. Go experience the culture. The people are wonderful. The fishing is fantastic. If you're in the right place and
at the right times.
At the right times. So just like, you know, you wouldn't come here to fish for tarpon in December.
And here
would be the Boca Grande area. So you wouldn't do that. It's not tarpon season. So, you know, it's no different seasonally. Their seasons really kind of align. Their tarpon migration kind of aligns with ours as far as the timing goes. You know, April, May, and you know, the weather. You know, some people are like, oh well, it's hot. No, it was very pleasant. It would get warm in the middle of the day when the wind would lay off, and you know, you stay hydrated and fish hard. I would just tell, you know, anybody who's you know, on the fence about going, go experience it. I think you would be extremely happy with what you found there. And you know, I kind of tell people, Brett, it's like a time machine. You know, you're going back in time and fishing a part of Cuba that doesn't get very, very little human pressure. I saw no garbage when I was there in the water. I mean, I wish I could say the same thing for our waters here, but, you know, you don't see any of that. There's very few, very, very light fingerprints in that archipelago that we fished. So, you know, it's absolutely stunningly beautiful.
Last question. So you've guided in Boca Grande for decades,
Mm-hmm.
right? Boca Grande's known for some of the larger tarpon, you know, on the Florida tarpon scene. I mean, it's not uncommon to hook fish triple digits.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No,
so
not at
so
all.
you're used to big fish.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear people say, well, you know, Cuba doesn't ever have any big fish. They're just all small fish. The tarpon are all small. What was your experience fishing during the tarpon migration?
So I would say an average would be probably in that 50 to 60 pound range. Certainly there are smaller fish, but I mean, I personally, you know, by Florida standards, I would call it a solid 100 pounder. You know, it very easily could have been a little more or maybe a little less, but there are big fish there. I did have a friend that hooked probably I saw the pictures of it. It was probably about a 120 by our standards. I mean, it would be a fish anybody would be proud to catch in Boca Grande or the Keys or the Everglades. So yeah, there are big fish there, you know, which is also a strong reinforcement of why, you know, come prepared. And yes, honestly, I hooked one that was probably in that 65 to 70 pound range one day, and that sucker gave me more fits than the 100 pounder. You know, so I won't say they're extremely difficult. They're not difficult to hook and feed. But just like everybody, you know, we're all individuals. You might pick a fight with the wrong fish, and it's going to challenge you physically. I would highly recommend doing some abdominal exercises before you go, because, you know, jamming a 10 weight or even in some cases an 11 into your stomach and pulling on these fish, you're going to get sore. That's a promise. You're going to get sore. So yeah, it's don't think that they're all 20 pounders there. That's not true. But again, it's the right time of the year in the right locations to take advantage of those fish as they migrate down the archipelago. So, you know, there's other areas of Cuba that are you know, might be a great place to go fish and spend some time, but yeah, you're going to have some smaller fish. There are times of the year if you come to the Boca Grande area, you can fish certain areas that are full of smaller class fish, you know, that I would use a 8 or 9 weight on. So it's where you go and the time of year you go that matters more for the size class of fish. But yes, Cuba does have big fish.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
They certainly do. I've seen them.
Up front, personal.
Yeah, up front, personal.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things I thought was very interesting was, you know, you would get tight to a fish, and, you know, in the Keys or Boca Grande, Everglades, you know, you get tight to a fish, it's going. I mean, it's away from the boat, you know. Usually jumping these, and you'll see this in Cuba. You'll stick that fish. The water's crystal clear. You can see everything happening. You'll stick this fish, and this fish has never felt a hook in its life. It doesn't know what to do. So you stick it again, and then, you know, eventually, yes, it realizes something's wrong, and it starts acting like a tarpon with everything that entails. So to me, I thought that was very interesting, that, you know, to
see the reactions
to
of the
see
fish.
the reaction of the fish when you got tight to him and stuck a piece of carbon steel in its jaw. So, you know, that was really cool. I thought it was very cool. I did see some big permit while we were there, but quite frankly, we weren't there to permit fish. We were there to catch tarpon, and that's what we did. So that's the takeaway. If anybody is curious about it, I mean, yes, there are large fish there,
and they eat just as well as the small fish.
Oh, yeah. I did. One day I saw one that it was possibly in that 130 range. I mean, it was certainly the biggest fish in the pack. And most of the time, what you'll find is the class of fish in the groups will match each other, and so like the bigger fish are going to be swimming with other bigger fish. So they kind of gang up in size categories. You won't see a 20-pounder swimming with a 120-pounder. If you see a big fish, and it's all of its friends are going to be big too. So that's really cool. And you get, the other thing I liked about it was you did get to fish different areas and different bottom topography. You would fish over grass, or you would fish over clear sand, or sometimes you would go out to actually a coral reef, which was stunningly beautiful. I mean, there's little reef fish around that are, I don't know what they were called, but they were beautiful. And there's tarpon swimming around this coral reef. I mean, that was really cool. And the water is just stunning. I mean, absolutely stunning. So you can easily see these fish, and that's another thing I would add. Bring a really, don't scrimp on sunglasses. Don't go to Walmart and buy some polarized glasses. Get a well-known name brand of high quality polarized glasses, because you're gonna need them.
So I take it this is not going to be your one and done.
Oh no,
Cuba migration trip.
No, it's not. I mean, I have my own reasons for that. I like to pull on tarpon. I do, and I really like the culture. I grew up around Cuban families my entire life, and I've always thought that they were great people to be with and make friends with, and I love the culture there. They're very warm, very generous people, and you have to bear in mind too that they don't have a lot. So when they extend their hospitality to you, you take it. And it means something to them to bring you into their lives. So I would say make some new friends. Go make some new friends in Cuba.
And you're helping out the people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really, and that's another thing. I mean, some people kind of, and I understand everybody has their various reasons, but you and I have discussed this. I think, when you're there, you help the people you can help. And they graciously accept it. So, it's I wouldn't say there's like a culture shock. They're just there to fish you really hard and go home and see their families, just like we do here. So it's a great. I do. There's various ways of entering, points of entry. I think depending on which location you're fishing, there's the Camagüey Airport, but it never disappoints me to go to Havana either. That's a very neat place that if it works out to where you can see Havana on your trip to Cuba, I highly recommend that too. That's a really neat spot. Really neat spot.
Cool. Thanks for your input on your trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for the next one.
Okay.